everyone. So you could call me Vandana, it's up to you. My job here today is to talk about Closed Loop Caribbean, which you've heard a lot over the past 24 hours and beyond. But you've also heard a lot about the word projects. You've heard even Tracy mention green projects, blue projects, lots of different projects. So my job here today is to actually talk to you about our projects. So we are essentially at Closed Loop what is considered project developers in the carbon space. So let me go ahead and get going with that. So Closed Loop Caribbean is a consortium of companies that have come together to implement circular economy solutions. These are our founding partners. So Hello Green and IAMovement are the founding partners of Closed Loop Caribbean. And our implementing partners include Thompson's, Tucana, and Vetiver TT. Here we can see our model. And as the name suggests, it is designed as a loop. So the theme of the conference today, as we know, is carbon credits, which I will talk a bit more about in the next few slides. But it's also important to note that the loop includes industrial organic waste composting, which you'll see later at one of the site visits, waste management, logistics, and green events, like this one today, land regeneration activities, which you'll also see later at the quarry site visit. I wanted to just take a small pause here to talk about some of the green initiatives that we've done here at CGIC with IAMovement. So for example, if you look around, you'd actually see all of the decor is either natural plants or cardboard such as this, or your centerpieces. And just so you know, what isn't going to be reused will actually be composted, because these are organic materials. We've also have our bin detectives and the food stations that you would have seen. And I'm sure you participated with them where you actually see the sorting of the waste. So we have our organics bin, which is all compostables, which actually has all of the food scraps from yesterday, your coffee breaks, your coffee cups. And today at our facility, when we go, we're actually going to be composting all of the food waste from yesterday, all of the food scraps that the caterer used. And so you'd see in real time how all of these are actually looped together and how they all work together. We also have a plastic bin that we're collecting any single-use plastics or any plastics that actually were used at the event. And this will also be recycled. Unfortunately, we're not doing a site visit to our partner facility, which is Flying Tree. However, in the weeks to come, you will see some more content on our pages about that. We also have a general waste bin, of course, because unfortunately, not every single thing can be recycled. But I'm happy to tell you that that has been the least amount of waste collected so far at the event. Most of the waste is actually going to be composted or recycled. I also want to just highlight a few other things that you may not have noticed about the event. But also, when you would have registered, you might have filled out a form where you're coming from. So for example, Central, South, wherever. And there's a reason for that. So we are actually going to be working with IAM where we're calculating the amount of, well, attempting to calculate as accurately as we can the carbon that we'd have emitted at this event. And as Michaela mentioned, we will also be working with IAM to purchase credits, these carbon credits. Unfortunately, not credits generated in Trinidad and Tobago yet, but in the region. Also at this event, and which you'll also see at the quarry for those going to that site visit, IAMovement has committed to planting 100 trees, which you will also see the plot, along with other customers that have also purchased plots. All of these things go towards our green financing. Another thing that you've heard a lot about, essentially, moreover, the lack of green financing and the need for us to come up with very creative and innovative solutions. So I'll get into the projects as mentioned. Here we have our reforestation site. You've seen these photos before, but it really shows how it's been transformed. It's one of the most popular and tangible hands-on services and activities that we offer, where everyone gets a chance to engage in climate action, but more so the rehabilitation of severely degraded lands in Trinidad and Tobago. Everyone that we've come across is enthusiastic to plant trees, locally and globally. Recent trends also show that over the last decade, there are many established tree planting organizations regionally and globally, with new ones constantly entering the space, and additionally, corporate involvement is rapidly growing. Many initiatives, regionally and globally, are heavily subsidized, and many organizations cannot really define the real cost of forest restoration and rehabilitation. At Close the Loop, we have appreciated this and incorporated the urgent local need for reforestation of degraded lands and the greater global need for quality, sustainable restoration efforts that account for the real costs. Beyond cost considerations, there's also real impact and true value in working together with local communities, choosing locally beneficial trees, such as hardwoods and fruiting trees. We also work very hard to choose the right places to place these trees, maintaining the sites in the long term. Just as Jonathan would have mentioned, if we do have trees that die off, we ensure that they are replanted for the future impact and success. Where the trees that have been purchased by customers through our reforestation packages, such as this, can survive for decades. As we learned earlier, the idea behind carbon eradication is that it needs to have permanence. So ensuring the life of these trees, so when they can sustain themselves, is very important. Where the trees, so once we have customers that purchase these packages, we guarantee that they survive for decades to provide the benefits that organizations can claim through the registration of carbon credits associated with these packages. As you've heard earlier, we are currently developing this with Apala. In addition to these, our forestation packages focus on the rehabilitation of degraded soils first, contributing significantly to local targets such as our MEAs. So as I mentioned soil, we heard from one of our partners, Aaron Barker, yesterday about the importance of microbes. And so I will go now into our next project, which is our organic waste diversion. So here we have the picture on the left, which would be your left. We have actually at our compost facility, that's Keith Thompson standing there, which you'll meet later today when we're doing our demos. And I also wanted to go straight into a comparable project that we are comparing very similar. Oh, hold on, 1 second. Okay, so it seems as though those slides did not load, but I'll tell you about this comparable project that we are using as a baseline for ours. So there is a project in Ghana, Africa, that is very similar to our project here in the Caribbean with regards to composting. This project redirects organic waste from disposal sites to composting facilities, just as we are doing. It also reduces carbon and methane emissions, and it occurs in a developing nation with a tropical climate. Sounds familiar, right? This project is actually ongoing. It started in 2023 and is ongoing until 2026. The goal of this project will actually quantify over 1 million metric tons of carbon, and the calculated price per ton of this carbon is $31 per ton. So if this project is able to achieve the goals that it sets out to do, we can see financial viability there, in addition to the other core benefits that this project will bring, such as creating new jobs, methane reduction, of course, as well as the production of high-quality compost, just like we are producing here. This compost, of course, can now be used in agriculture and other sectors, landscaping, beautification projects, even at the landfills where a lot of soil is needed. So what we call core benefits are actually immense with these types of projects. And again, as we've heard a lot about, it also enables us to have green financing. We heard a lot about the Northern Range conservation. We heard from Michaela earlier talking about projects in Guyana. We heard yesterday from Senator Vera. And so I just wanted to take this time to talk to you a little bit about it. Communication between the Closely Loop team and experts like human settlement consultant and land surveyor, Mr. Ivan Lachlan, has sparked interest in starting community-led conservation initiatives in the Northern Range. Establishing forest conservation areas in Trinidad's Northern Range is also inspired by Tobago's historic Main Ridge Forest Reserve. This is the Western Hemisphere's first legally protected forest, which was established in 1776 for watershed conservation, which now plays a crucial role in protecting Tobago's water resources, supporting ecotourism, and preserving the island's rich natural heritage. Through IAMovement's UN Democracy Fund project, which spanned from 2021 to 2023, Senator Anthony Vera has put forward a motion in Parliament in January 2024, which was responded well to by the Minister of Planning and Development, the Honorable Penelope Beckles. Building on Mr. Lachlan's previous work on a Northern Range development perspective, we aim to protect the Northern Range's forests, promote environmental awareness, and support sustainable livelihoods for local communities. This initiative is still in the early stages. Our team, in particular Erin, say hi Erin, is actively developing and refining the framework and strategic plan to ensure a comprehensive, well-thought-out approach that meets the needs of both the environment and the people who call the Northern Range home. As mentioned, we are working with the Apala group on these 3 projects to discover the best way forward. And I just wanted to show some of the registries that we've gone through with Apala. Tracy might have mentioned some of the more popular ones, such as Gold Standard and Vera. However, as you can see, there's a whole heap of different registration programs that you can go with. In fact, as Michaela would have mentioned, that there are some there are unique problems or opportunities rather in the Caribbean. We at Closely Loop are also working with Apala to determine whether we need to create our own local Caribbean standard, just as was mentioned, might be the way forward for us. We don't know all the answers just yet, but that's where we have the opportunity to create our own way forward. And so, I end my presentation and looking forward to questions with my fellow panelists. Thank you.